2 hours before the wedding was supposed to start, my father Russell Benson walked into the hotel after a few bus transfers from Millbrook County. He was wearing the same old suit he'd kept at the bottom of his closet for over a decade, cuffs faded white, but his dress shoes polished to a high shine. The father of the bride corsage on his chest had taken him several tries to pin straight, using the hotel's glass door as a mirror. When it was time to sit, he clutched his place card and walked carefully up to Caleb Vance. "Caleb, did they put me in the wrong seat?" Caleb barely glanced at it before pushing the card back. "No. The family table is full. You'll need to sit at the side table." My father froze. "But this says family table." Caleb frowned. "Last-minute change. Everyone here today is a Vance Group shareholder or a major client. The family table isn't for just anyone." My father looked down at his old suit and slowly tucked the place card back into his pocket. He tried to take off the corsage, but the pin caught on the fabric. The more he rushed, the more his hands shook. Patricia Vance spoke up, her tone flat. "Russell, a seat's a seat. Don't make things hard for the kids." My father nodded quickly. Sure. I can sit anywhere." He picked up the old Hope chest from beside his feet and headed for the extra tables in the very back corner. I looked up and saw Chloe Whitmore's whole family's place card sitting right at the head table, front and center. Caleb was personally helping Chloe's mother to her seat. And my father, holding my wedding gift, sat down right next to the service door to the kitchen. I was about to walk over to Caleb when the wedding coordinator hurried up with the run sheet. "Mr. Vance, the groomsmen need to line up." Caleb nodded, adjusting his cuff links. That's when I saw the person standing next to him. It wasn't my brother Leo. It was Dylan Whitmore, Chloe's younger brother. He was wearing a groomsman's suit with a white boutonniere pinned to his chest. That boutonniere. I'd put it in Leo's gift box myself last night. When Leo tried on his suit, he was so nervous he didn't know where to put his hands. I laughed at him and he just held that boutonniere for a long time, staring at it. He said, "I'm not gonna embarrass you tomorrow, Clara." Now it was pinned to Dylan. Dylan patted his chest and smiled, completely at ease. "Looks good, right?" Caleb said, "It fits me better." I looked at Caleb. "Where's Leo?" "Had to make a change." "Why?" "Your brother's too awkward. I need guys who can handle themselves in front of all the Vance Group shareholders and clients." I didn't look at Dylan. I kept my eyes on Caleb. "So you replaced my brother?" He dropped his voice. "The ceremony's about to start. Don't make a thing out of something this small." Something this small. I turned and walked to the green room. Leo sat in the corner of the couch. His groomsman's suit was gone. He was just wearing his old white button-down, the cuffs starting to fray. He saw me and shot up, hiding something behind his back. "Hey, what are you doing here?" I walked over and pulled his hand out. The gift box was empty. Where the boutonniere should have been, there was only a bent safety pin. Leo looked down. His ears turned red slowly. Caleb said plans changed. Told me not to go up. He paused, then added, "It's fine, sis." I was scared I'd mess it up anyway. His voice was so quiet, like he was afraid I'd hear how much it hurt. Dylan's laugh came from the doorway. "Not everyone's cut out to be a groomsman. You've got to look the part." Leo's fingers curled. Caleb stood by the door. He didn't look at Leo. He looked only at me. "Dylan's young. He runs his mouth. Don't take it personally," I said. "Leo's 2 years younger." Caleb was quiet for a second. Then he checked his watch. "Clara, it's almost time." Leo grabbed my sleeve. "Clara, stop." His palms were sweating. My father rushed in, forehead beaded with sweat, still holding that old Hope chest against his chest. The corsage was already off, shoved into his pocket with just a sliver of red showing. "Clara, did Leo do something wrong again?" Leo shook his head fast. "No, Dad." My father forced a smile at Caleb. "Caleb, Leo doesn't know any better. He doesn't have to go up. He can sit down there too." Then he looked at me. "Clara, this is your big day. Don't let us hold you up." Not him. Not Leo. Us, the ones who weren't good enough. A hotel worker walked in and pointed at the Hope chest in my father's arms. "Mrs. Vance said this doesn't belong in the lobby. We're moving it to the back." My father's arms tightened. You can't move this. The worker looked at Caleb. Caleb frowned. Take it. Don't block the way. My father's lips moved. This is Clara's wedding gift. Caleb glanced at the chipped corner. Get it after the ceremony. My father lowered his head and slowly let go. When the worker took it, the corner of the chest banged against the doorframe. A heavy thud. My father's whole body flinched. After they took the hope chest, my father just stood there. His hands were empty now, hanging at his sides, his fingers rubbing against the seam of his pants, like he was still holding something. The wedding coordinator came back. Time for the bride's touch-up. I didn't move. I turned and walked out after the chest. My father followed 2 steps behind. He looked like he wanted to call out to me but stopped himself. He just hurried to keep up. The back area of the hotel was much darker than the ballroom. At the end of the hallway were stacks of discarded cardboard boxes, spare flower stands, and a few bags of wet tablecloths. The air smelled like wine, grease, and disinfectant. The hope chest sat right on top. No, it was thrown there. A wet tablecloth was weighing down the lid, water dripping from the plastic bag, soaking a dark patch into the wood. My father practically ran to it. He crouched down, moved the wet cloth away, and started wiping the lid with his sleeve. It's fine, he kept saying. Old chest. Tough. But the latch was already bent. The corner had splintered too. He reached out to touch the crack, and a splinter sliced his finger. A bead of blood appeared fast. He froze, then hid his hand behind his back. I said, Dad. Your hand. He smiled. It's nothing. He went back to wiping the chest. His cuff was soaked in seconds. I turned to the worker nearby. Who told you to put this here? The worker glanced at me, then at Caleb and stammered. The Vances said the lobby's all set up. Stuff like this doesn't belong out there. Stuff like this. No one answered. Caleb walked over. His face was already tight. Clara. The ceremony's about to start. I pointed at the chest. This is my father's wedding gift to me. He looked at my dad, then at the chest. I know that. And you still let them throw it back here? Nobody threw it, he said, his tone impatient now. It's just a temporary spot. My father stood up fast, blocking the chest. Clara, stop. It's really not damaged. Afraid I'd keep going. He quickly turned to explain to Caleb. Caleb, I didn't mean it like that. The chest is old. Doesn't look great. Back here is fine. He talked so fast he almost bit his tongue. Caleb's expression softened a little, but there was no shame in it. If it bothers you, I can buy you a new one. The smile on my father's face froze. He looked down at the chest and slowly pressed his palm against the bent latch. Don't, he said. It's not worth anything. Those 3 words landed heavier than the chest hitting the doorframe. I reached for my father's wrist. His hand was cold and shaking. Chloe Whitmore appeared out of nowhere. She wore a light-colored dress, standing next to Caleb, her eyes red-rimmed. Clara, I'm so sorry. Is it because my family's at the family table? Are you upset? Her voice was soft enough for everyone nearby to hear. If that's it, I can move to the back. This is your and Caleb's wedding day. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Caleb looked at me immediately. Clara, Chloe didn't mean anything by it. I didn't say anything. But my father rushed in. No, we don't have any problem. Miss Whitmore, you sit there. All of you. Really? Then he turned back to me and lowered his voice. Clara, don't make them uncomfortable. He'd been seated next to the kitchen door, and he didn't care about being uncomfortable. Leo got bumped by the groomsmen, and he said it was fine. The hope chest got thrown next to garbage, and he said it wasn't worth anything. But if Chloe's family got uncomfortable, he was scared of that. Scared for me. Scared of what the Vances would think. The wedding coordinator rushed up with the run sheet. Mr. Vance, one last confirmation on the ceremony script. Caleb took it. I was standing close. My eyes caught a line. The thanks to parents section. The names were listed clearly. Thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Vance. Thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore. Thank you to dear longtime friend Chloe Whitmore. I kept reading down. No Russell Benson. No Dad. My father was still crouched on the floor wiping the chest's corner. He had no idea he'd been cut out again. I reached over and took the run sheet from Caleb's hand. His face went dark. Clara. I pointed at the blank space where my father's name should have been. Where's my dad? Caleb reached for the run sheet back. I didn't let go. The paper made a tight sound between us. He lowered his voice. Don't make a scene. I asked, why isn't my father on here? Caleb looked around. The staff, the makeup artist, the coordinator, all pretending to be busy. This run sheet was finalized a long time ago. Finalized without my father? His jaw tightened more. He's not used to this kind of event. Calling him out would just make him uncomfortable. I looked at Chloe. And her parents are comfortable? Chloe's eyes welled up again. Clara, if you're upset, I don't have to go up there. Caleb just thinks my parents have helped him so much over the years. He's loyal. She bit her lip. Caleb stepped in front of her immediately. Enough. He looked at me, his voice cold now. There are dozens of guests out there. Do you have to turn every little thing into a battle? Before I could answer, my father stood up. He wiped the blood from his hand with his sleeve and put that hand behind his back again. Clara, stop asking, he said quietly. They don't have to mention me. I don't care about that kind of thing. He looked at me and tried to smile. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. I looked at that smile and couldn't speak. His suit cuff was wet. His hand was bleeding. And there was a tiny pinhole on his chest where the corsage should have been. He was the father of the bride. And he looked like the one person who didn't belong at this wedding. Patricia Vance walked over. She glanced at the run sheet in my hand, then at me. Her smile had faded. Clara, the ceremony is starting. Her voice wasn't loud, but everyone nearby could hear her. When you get married, you learn your place. Your father already said he's fine with it. Do you really need to embarrass everyone like this? My father nodded right away. I don't mind. I really don't. Then he pulled at my sleeve. Clara, don't change anything. Don't make more trouble for them. Leo stood off to the side. His fists were clenched tight. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. My father shot him a look. Leo's shoulders dropped. Then Dylan Miller walked past and deliberately slammed into Leo's shoulder. Leo stumbled half a step. Dylan smoothed down the boutonniere on his chest and laughed. Don't block the way. I've got to get on stage in a minute. That boutonniere had been Leo's. Leo kept his head down. His throat moved. He didn't say a word. I looked at my father's bleeding hand. At my brother's empty chest. At the run sheet without our father's name. I didn't ask again. I just folded the paper slowly. Caleb thought I was finally backing down. His face relaxed. He stepped closer, his voice softer. That's better, he said. We'll deal with everything after the wedding. The coordinator ran up with the final script and handed it to the host. I looked up. On the first page in bold, one line. Special thanks to Miss Chloe Whitmore and the Whitmore family. My father's name still wasn't there. The lights dimmed outside. The host's voice came from the ballroom. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is about to begin. First, let's thank the special family members here today. My father straightened up automatically. He rolled down his wet cuff and smoothed the wrinkles in his old suit, like he was afraid he wasn't presentable enough. But the next second, a cameraman walked past him and muttered under his breath. Sir, could you move to the side? You're blocking the shot of the family table. My father froze. He stepped back slowly. He didn't stop until he was standing right next to the kitchen service door again. The ceremony started. Lights hit the stage. Caleb stood in the center, suit sharp, voice steady. He thanked the Vances first. William and Patricia Vance sat in the middle of the head table, smiling and nodding. The guests clapped, measured and respectful. Then he looked at Chloe's family. I also want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore especially, he said. For years they've taken care of me like family. The camera cut straight to the head table. Chloe's parents sat in the most visible seats, smiling politely and comfortably. Chloe lowered her head slightly, her eyes red. Someone in the crowd called out, So are they the bride's family or the groom's? Caleb didn't deny it. He even smiled a little. My father, sitting by the kitchen door, heard it. His fingers dug into his knees. A waiter pushed a cart past him from behind. Afraid he was in the way, my father scooted his chair forward fast. The chair legs scraped the floor with an ugly screech. A few people turned to look at him. He dropped his head like he'd done something wrong. The host kept going, smiling. Looks like Mr. Vance is very close to the Whitmores. And today, a dear longtime friend who's been with Mr. Vance through so many years is also here. The light swept to Chloe. Caleb looked at her, his voice softening. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you for always being there. More applause. I stood in the waiting area, my fingers tightening slowly. The makeup artist adjusted my veil and whispered, "Smile when you go out, Mrs. Vance. The camera will zoom in." I didn't smile. I looked past the crowd at my father. He was clapping too. Very quietly. After 2 claps, he realized no one was looking at him. His hands fell back to his knees. The father of the bride corsage was crushed in his palm, wrinkled into a ball. Leo stood behind the family seating, his eyes red. He was supposed to be standing at the side of the stage as a groomsman, but Dylan Miller was in that spot now. Dylan wore Leo's boutonniere on his chest, smiling for the camera. The host turned to the next page. Now please welcome the bride. She is about to begin the next chapter of her life, surrounded by the people who mean the most to her. The people who mean the most to her. I heard those words and felt how ridiculous they were. My father sat by the kitchen door. My brother had been pushed to the back of the crowd. The chest my father brought for me was thrown next to storage junk, the latch already broken. And the people Caleb called family sat at the head table, bathed in light, surrounded by applause, thanked like royalty. I walked down the aisle 1 step at a time. Caleb reached his hand out to me. His eyes carried a warning and certainty at the same time, like he was saying, don't. You've come this far. You can't back out now. I stopped in front of him. I didn't take his hand. Caleb dropped his voice. Clara, don't make a scene. Just work with me. Whatever it is, we'll handle it after the ceremony. I didn't answer. I turned and looked back at the seats. My father was trying to sit up straight like he could make himself look less out of place. But the kitchen door was right behind him. Waiters kept coming through. A splash of gravy hit his pant leg. He wiped at it without thinking. Then he stopped, afraid someone had seen. Caleb followed my gaze. His brow creased. He muttered, "Your dad's sitting there just fine, isn't he?" That was the last knife. I looked at him and understood. Caleb didn't know how much my father had been humiliated. He just didn't think any of it mattered. The host handed me the microphone and smiled. "Mrs. Vance, would you like to say a few words?" Patricia Vance was watching me from the head table. Chloe was looking at me with tearful eyes. My father was looking at me too, no anger, just panic. He was afraid I'd do something reckless. Afraid I'd make my life harder later. Afraid he'd be the reason his daughter got hurt again. I raised my hand. Everyone thought I was reaching for the mic. Instead, I took off my veil first. The white fabric slipped from my hair and fell into my grip. The whole room went silent. Caleb's face changed completely. "Clara." I took the microphone. My voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire ballroom. "Everyone, I'm sorry. The wedding's off." The whole room went dead silent. Then whispers broke out everywhere. That's when Caleb grabbed my wrist. "Have you lost your mind?" His jaw was tight, his voice the lowest I'd ever heard. "Do you know how many people are here?" I pulled my hand back. Patricia stood up from the head table. Her smile was gone. "You don't plan a wedding and then just cancel it," she said, ice in her voice. "The venue, the catering, the guests, none of that's free. Can your family even afford to cover it?" My father's face went pale as he stood up from the corner. "Now hold on." A waiter pushed a cart past him from behind. He stepped aside. One small step. Hardly anyone noticed it. But I saw. At his own daughter's wedding, he didn't even have room to speak. Chloe walked up with red eyes. "Clara, if it's because of me, I'll leave right now." She looked at Caleb, her voice shaking. "Don't do this to Caleb. Don't embarrass him like this." Caleb stepped in front of her. "This has nothing to do with Chloe." I laughed. It was fine that my dad got sent to the kitchen door. Fine that my brother got replaced. Fine that the hope chest got thrown next to trash. Fine that he thanked his first love's family on stage. But Chloe couldn't be embarrassed. My father came to the edge of the stage and looked up at me. Clara, calm down. I'm okay. Really? The more he said it, the more it hurt. Patricia Vance's voice was ice. Even your father has more sense than you. You make a scene like this and can't even explain yourself. How is Vance Group supposed to show its face after this? My father lowered his head. I'll pay for it, he said so quietly, like the words cost him everything. Whatever it costs, I'll pay it back. Slowly. Leo's head snapped up. Dad. My father shot him a look. There was no authority in it. Just panic. A back-of-house worker ran in. Mrs. Vance, the old hope chest, the latch broke. There are papers falling out. Patricia smiled coldly. Since you treasure it so much, why don't we take a look? My father pressed his hand against the chest, his knuckles white. No need to look. It's for Clara. Not for anyone else. Dylan Miller snorted. What's in there, a bunch of old blankets? Leo shouted at him. Shut up. Caleb's voice went sharp. Leo, watch yourself. Leo's eyes were red, but he didn't back down. I walked off the stage and went to my father. He looked at me, eyes frantic. Clara, don't look at it. Nothing special. I took his hand. Rough. Cold. The cut on the back is still wet. Dad, open it, I said. I looked at Patricia Vance, then at Caleb. They're not looking down on the chest. They're looking down on you. My father's eyes turned red. He was quiet for a long time. Then he let go. The latch was broken. The lid came right up. On top was a soft red baby jacket faded from washing. The one I wore as a kid for holidays. Next to it were old photo albums, each wrapped carefully in plastic. Beneath that, a waterproof bag. I opened it. The sale contract for the family home on Maple Lane. Bank statements. A debit card with my name on it. And at the bottom a handwritten list. My father's handwriting wasn't pretty, but each stroke was careful. House sale proceeds. Savings. For Clara to keep. Total. $320,000. The whole room went quiet. Patricia Vance's expression froze. Dylan Miller shut his mouth. My father kept his head down. I'm not much, he said. I sold the house so you'd have something. If things ever get bad, having money in your pocket means you can keep your head up. Then he added, I can live anywhere. Don't worry about me. I put the debit card back in his hand. Dad, this isn't a wedding gift. This is my way out. Patricia forced a smile. Well, it seems Russell came prepared. This was all a misunderstanding. Caleb softened his tone. Now that that's cleared up, let's continue. I looked at him. You still think I'm waiting for you to give me a way back in? His face dropped. You walk out that door, and Vance Group's deal with Thompson Industries is done. I pulled out my phone and dialed Rick Thompson's number. Did you forget? I'm the one who closed that deal for you. Patricia's smile collapsed. Since when does the Thompson deal belong to you? She snapped. I hung up. Because I spent 3 months rewriting Vance Group's proposal. Went with Rick to every single factory. Reviewed the supply chain. Reworked the budget from scratch. Caleb's voice was strained. Clara, do you have to embarrass everyone like this? I'm not the one embarrassing anyone. You're the one who kicked my dad off the head table. He had nothing to say. I put my arm around my father and called Leo. Let's go. My father held the hope chest, the latch broken, pressing the lid down with his hand. At the door he stopped. He turned and looked back at the chair next to the kitchen service door. Hanging on the back of it was his corsage, crushed and wrinkled. I took it down and put it in his palm. Come on, Dad. Let's go home. In the car, Leo held the chest, his knuckles white. My father stared out the window. Then he said, Clara, did I embarrass you? My throat closed up. He smiled. My clothes were too old today. Shoes from last year. I should have rented a nicer suit. He said it so seriously. Leo's eyes went red. Dad, they're the ones who bullied us. My father cut him off fast. Don't say that. He looked at me, his voice even softer. Walking out on your wedding like that. It's not a good look for a girl. At the hotel I booked 2 rooms. My father stood at the door and wouldn't go in. I crouched down to tie his loose shoelace. He pulled back. It's dirty. I held his foot still. Dad, you didn't embarrass anyone. They're the ones who weren't good enough for us. My father froze. After a long time, he turned his face away and wiped the corner of his eye. That night, Caleb went back to the marital house. He didn't actually believe I was gone. He thought I was waiting for him to come get me. He pushed the door open. The house was eerily quiet. White ribbons still hung from the doorways. Wedding decorations still clung to the walls. But the photo wall was empty. Half my clothes were gone from the closet. The jewelry box, skincare, trial makeup photos, all missing from the vanity. The bridal shop said the dress had been returned. The wedding planner said the final payment was settled, and their lawyer would handle the rest. He called me. Clara, do you really have to go this hard? I stood at the end of the hallway. I have my lawyer totaling up the wedding costs. The damage to my father's hope chest. Leo getting replaced as groomsman. My father is getting shoved in the corner. The Vances owe me a formal apology. He laughed bitterly. You're trying to make me bow? I'm just collecting every bit of dignity you owe my father. One piece at a time. You'll regret this. I hung up. The next morning, William Vance issued an internal notice. All brand projects under Caleb Vance were suspended due to the wedding incident. His succession evaluation was paused too. That's when he finally understood. I hadn't just run away from the wedding. I had removed myself, along with my father and my brother, from his entire life. Caleb didn't believe he couldn't land the Thompson deal without me. He'd always been like that. When I stayed up all night rewriting proposals, he said it was my job. When I visited suburban factories with clients and came home with bleeding blisters on my feet, he said women were detail-oriented, so it was a good fit. When I brought the budget down to a number Rick could accept, all he said at the meeting was, "The team did good work." The team, not Clara. So this time he figured I just took some files with me. I couldn't take the whole project. 3 days later, he set up a dinner with Rick Thompson, and he brought Dylan Miller along. I heard about it while I was standing in line at the business registration window. Leo stood next to me, holding a stack of documents. My father sat on a waiting chair, the half-repaired hope chest on his lap. The new latch wasn't installed yet, so he kept his hand on the lid to keep it shut. Leo muttered under his breath. He actually brought Dylan? I signed the form and capped my pen. Let him go. Some lessons hurt more when you learn them yourself. I heard the details from Rick's assistant later. Caleb showed up dressed sharp. Dylan wore a suit too. Not long after they sat down, Dylan started warming up the room for him. Don't worry, Mr. Thompson. Our group's got this project locked down. Rick looked at him. What part are you responsible for? Dylan froze. I'm learning from Caleb. Then he added with a grin. I saw the proposal before. The core idea is young marketing, right? Rick's face went cold. The core of that proposal wasn't young marketing. It was channel segmentation after restructuring the supply chain for an old brand. It took me a month to break down the inventory turnover issue that Rick was most worried about. Dylan turned it into a few buzzwords. Caleb tried to recover. But as soon as he opened his mouth, Rick opened the file. Who put this budget together? Caleb said. Our team. Rick looked up. I asked for a name. Dylan jumped in. Caleb oversaw it, of course. Clara just helped organize it. Rick closed the file. His voice wasn't loud, but the whole table went quiet. I've only ever heard Clara present this proposal in full. If Vance Group can't even identify who's truly in charge, I can't trust you anymore. The dinner ended early. When Chloe found out, she went to Caleb crying. Dylan's just young. He doesn't know how to act. You need to say something for him. Caleb had heard that line too many times. He'd said it to me at the wedding too. Dylan's young. He runs his mouth. Don't take it personally. Now the cost was landing on him. And finally it stung. Too late. The Vance Group project went into reevaluation. On the same day, my company got its business license. My father picked the name. Safe and Sound. He said, Safe and sound, Clara. That's all that matters. The office was tiny. 3 desks. 2 dying spider plants that someone else didn't want. Leo ran errands, printed documents, dealt with vendors. My father helped me fix the hope chest. I put it in the corner of the office. Leo asked, Aren't you going to put that away somewhere else? I shook my head. That's Dad giving me backbone. My father heard it. He turned around and wiped the latch for a long time. That afternoon, Rick called and asked to meet about the new proposal. I brought Leo. Rick read through the plan and asked one question. Your company just opened. Can you handle it? I said. I might not have all the resources Vance Group could give you, but every word in that proposal, I know exactly why I wrote it. Rick smiled. That's what I want. Walking out of the meeting, Leo's eyes were shining with excitement. He was about to say something when my phone buzzed. A former Vance Group colleague texted. Caleb found out. Your company is the first choice candidate for Rick's new proposal. I read the line and turned off the screen. The sun was bright outside. I thought about my father sitting next to the kitchen door on the wedding day, afraid to even clap too loud. Nobody saw us as the main characters then. Now we didn't need anyone to give us a seat. We sat down ourselves. The day Caleb came to the Benson house, my father was crouched on the porch, replacing the latch on the Hope chest. He turned the small screwdriver slowly. Sunlight fell on his gray hair. The doorbell rang. Leo opened the door, saw Caleb, and his face went dark. What are you doing here? Caleb was holding a gift basket. Expensive wrapping. Patricia Vance had clearly picked it out. He stood at the door. Most of his usual composure was gone. I want to see Clara. Leo laughed coldly. She doesn't want to see you. Caleb didn't leave. He looked past Leo and saw my father on the porch. Before all this, when my father saw Caleb, he'd always stand up first, smiling, calling out, Caleb's here, scrambling to pour tea and find snacks. This time my father just put down the screwdriver and stood up slowly. Mr. Vance. Caleb froze for a second. He walked in with the gift basket and set it on the coffee table. Mr. Benson, I handled the wedding badly. My father didn't answer. He bent down and blew wood dust off the chest. I can plan another wedding, Caleb said. This time you'll sit with us at the main table. Leo can be a groomsman. Leo laughed bitterly. Groomsman? You say that like it's a pity invite. My father raised his hand to stop Leo. He pulled a piece of paper from the drawer. Numbers filled it. Hotel deposit. Drinks. Wedding planning. Invitations. Guest favors. Every expense listed clearly. He slid the paper across the table to Caleb. The Bensons pay what we owe, my father said. We don't take your money. He spoke slowly, like he'd practiced every word. And we won't be related to your family anymore either. Caleb's face dropped. Mr. Benson, I'm not here to talk about money, my father said. But we are. Debts can be paid back. He looked up at Caleb. Dignity that's taken, that has to be paid back too. Caleb was silent. I walked out of my room. When he saw me, his eyes shifted. Clara. He started to step closer, then stopped. I put a folder on the table. Dissolution of engagement. A full accounting of the wedding costs. Every dollar I put into renovating that house. And a formal written apology from your parents. It's all in there. Caleb didn't open it. Does it have to be like this? I'm not the one who made it like this, I said. You told everyone at the wedding that we weren't family. His face paled. I didn't. You did. I looked at him. My father sat by the kitchen door. You said he was fine. My brother got replaced. You said Dylan would hold the room better. My father's name wasn't even on the run sheet. You said he'd be uncomfortable. I listed each one. My voice wasn't loud. He couldn't deny a single thing. My father closed the repaired Hope chest. The new latch made a soft click. Mr. Vance, my father said, my daughter doesn't want a settlement. She wanted you to treat her family like family. Caleb's fingers tightened. His phone rang. He answered. His face changed with every second. Finally, he just said, I'm on my way back. He hung up and looked at me. Resentment. And some fear. I didn't ask. When he reached the door, Leo spoke. Caleb. Caleb turned. Don't come here again. My dad sees you, and he thinks about what you put him through. Caleb stood there for a few seconds. He didn't say anything. He walked out. The door closed. My father sat back down on the porch. He touched the new latch on the Hope chest and said 3 words very quietly. Fixed it now. I knew he wasn't just talking about the chest. By the time Caleb got back to Vance Group, the board was already waiting for him. The wedding disaster. The Thompson project suspension. Dylan's dinner meltdown. One by one it was all laid out on the conference table. William sat at the head, his face like stone. "I gave you that project so you could deliver results," he said. "Not so you could drag outsiders in to embarrass Vance Group." Caleb stood in the middle of the room. He didn't sit. He'd always been comfortable in these situations before. Being challenged, questioned, scrutinized. He could always handle it gracefully. But this time he couldn't even give a simple explanation without falling apart. Because he'd done all of it. He was the one who replaced Leo. He was the one who let Dylan run wild. He was the one who let Chloe's family take the head table. And he was the one who publicly thanked the Whitmores on stage without mentioning Russell Benson once. When the meeting ended, William left him with one sentence. "Your succession eligibility is suspended." Caleb walked out of the room. Chloe was waiting for him. Her eyes were red. She came to him immediately. "Caleb, Dylan didn't mean it. He was just trying to help you. Mr. Vance can't put all the blame on him." Caleb looked at her. For a long time he didn't speak. Chloe shifted under his gaze. "What's wrong?" Caleb asked. "At the wedding. Did you know where Clara's father was sitting?" Chloe froze. You knew." Caleb's voice was low. "You knew Leo had been replaced too." Chloe's eyes got redder. "Caleb, everything was so chaotic that day. I didn't know what to do. And Clara was always misunderstanding me. I was afraid anything I said would make it worse." There was a time when those words would have made Caleb soften. He would have protected her from every bit of hurt. But this time he remembered the wedding. Russell Benson standing in the back, his suit cuff-soaked, blood on his hand, still saying, "Caleb, I didn't mean it like that." He hadn't softened then. Chloe sat at the head table. She hadn't lost anything. She just cried a little. And he thought she was the one who'd been wronged. Caleb closed his eyes. "Chloe, I've taken your side for too long." Chloe's face went white. "What's that supposed to mean?" Before Caleb could answer, an assistant hurried over. "Mr. Vance, Dylan Miller is telling people in marketing that you told him to attend the dinner." Caleb looked up. The assistant's voice dropped lower. "He said the groomsmen change and the head table seating were all your call. He was just following orders." Chloe's expression shifted. "Dylan's young. He was probably just scared." There it was again. Young. Doesn't know any better. Scared. Caleb let out a small laugh. It wasn't warm. It was cold. "He's 24. Chloe went still. Caleb turned and walked away. That night, he went back to the marital house. The house was still empty. The white ribbons had been taken down by the housekeeper. The wedding decorations left faint marks from the adhesive. He stood in the living room for a long time. Then he opened the desk drawer in the study. Inside was a wedding run sheet. Clara had left it behind. He'd never really looked at it before. The first page read, "Dad sits close to the stage for the toast." The second page read, "Leo's never been a groomsman. Show him where to go ahead of time so he doesn't freeze up." The third page read, "Patricia hates cilantro. William's diabetic. Go easy on the desserts." Further in, Chloe's name appeared. Clara had written, "If Chloe shows up, put her at a normal guest table. Avoids awkwardness for everyone." Caleb's fingers stopped. She had thought of everyone's dignity from the very beginning. Even Chloe's. He was the one who changed it all. He pushed Russell Benson into the corner. He moved the Whitmores to the head table. He pinned Leo's boutonniere on Dylan's chest. He turned to the last page. A handwritten note was tucked there. The words Clara had planned to say at the wedding. "Thank you, Dad, for raising me. Starting today, I have a new family too." Caleb stared at those words for a long time. The paper crumpled under his fingers. He finally understood. Clara really had wanted to marry him. That new family. He was the one who destroyed it. 2 months later, Safe and Sound signed the project with Rick Thompson. At the signing ceremony, my father sat in the front row. He wore a new light blue shirt. It wasn't expensive, but it was ironed perfectly. Leo sat next to him holding a folder and flipping through it nervously. My father whispered, "Stop flipping. "You're going to wreck the paper," Leo muttered back. "I'm checking." I stood on the stage looking at them and remembered the wedding. My father sitting next to the kitchen door. The cart behind him. Gravy stains near his feet. He hadn't even dared clap too loud back then. Today he sat in the front row. Nobody asked him to move. Nobody complained he was in the shot. After the signing, Rick shook my hand. "Congratulations, Ms. Benson." "Ms. Benson." When those words landed, my father's eyes lit up. He straightened up a little more in his seat, like he was afraid someone wouldn't notice I was his daughter. After the ceremony, Caleb was waiting outside. He'd lost weight. His suit was still sharp, but the old certainty was gone. When he saw my father, he said quietly, "Mr. Benson." My father paused. He didn't correct him. Didn't respond. He just said to me, "Clara, Leo and I will wait in the car." Leo shot me a worried look. I nodded. After they walked away, Caleb handed me a folder. "I've cut ties with the Whitmores," he said. "Dylan Miller won't appear in any Vance Group project again." I didn't take it. He kept going. "I can plan another wedding. This time, everything runs the way you originally wrote it. Your father at the head table. Leo as groomsman." I looked at him and felt exhausted. "Caleb Vance, are you coming back because you love me? Or because you lost the project, your succession eligibility, and the dignity the Whitmores gave you?" His face went pale for a second. "Clara, I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have. It's not just what you did that day," I cut him off. "It's that you always thought my family could be put last." Caleb's throat moved. I kept going. The night the wedding ended, my father put those dress shoes in the very back of his closet. He said he shouldn't have worn that old suit. Shouldn't have carried that old chest. Shouldn't have sat there and let people laugh at him. Caleb's eyes turned red. I looked at him. But that was the only chance my father ever had to walk me down the aisle with dignity. You didn't just humiliate a seat card. You humiliated every bit of courage he'd saved up for half his life. His hands slowly clenched at his sides. After a long time he asked quietly, "If I hadn't asked your father to move that day, would we have made it?" I shook my head. "It was never about the seat. It was about the fact that you never made room for us in your life." Half an hour later, we signed the papers at Anderson and Associates. Dissolution of engagement. Cost reconciliation. Formal written apology acknowledgement. Caleb signed slowly. His fingers trembled slightly when the pen hit the paper. He returned the money I put into the house renovation and wedding planning. And he issued a formal apology for the damaged hope chest, Leo being replaced as groomsman, and my father being seated in the corner. After the last signature, he looked up at me. "Clara, is there really no chance for us?" I put the documents away. No. Outside the law office, the sun was perfect. My father and Leo stood by the curb waiting for me. My father was holding a bouquet of sunflowers. They weren't expensive. The wrapping paper was a little crooked. When he saw me, he smiled right away. "Let's go," he said. "Dad's taking you out for a real meal today." Leo called him out. He spent 10 minutes arguing with the florist over the price. My father glared at him. "What do you know? The money I saved can buy an extra dish." I laughed. And then my eyes got hot. My father looked worried. "What's wrong? You don't like them?" I shook my head. I walked over and hugged him. "They're perfect. Everything's perfect." Caleb stood on the steps of the law office. He didn't follow. He watched the three of us walk farther and farther away. I heard later that he went back to Vance Group. Started from entry-level projects. The Whitmores were completely cut out of the Vance circle too. None of that mattered to me anymore. That day at the wedding, he pushed my father into the corner. And he pushed himself out of my life for good. And I finally brought my father and my brother to a place where the light fell on us.
This is Listening Novel. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you enjoyed today's story, please like and subscribe for more stories, and stay tuned for what's next.